Young people want to build their lives on a firm foundation, not on the uncertainty of a volatile rental market and a one-bedder apartment in Zetland or Strathfield. With all this pressure, such little hope in coming close to achieving the Australian dream upon which our social contract between generations has been built, is it any wonder that more and more young people are identifying as depressed and pessimistic about the future?
Words from Gerald. He's the Chief Executive of the Page Research Centre. He's a regular here on Sky. What reaction did you get? They were powerful words from you there on stage.
Look, Steve, firstly just to say I think all the speakers at Aspire were absolutely phenomenal, and it was a real privilege to be able to share the stage with them. But I think what I was really trying to share with the world and share with Australia, and what many people may not realise, is this generation of young men in particular, they aren't doing as well as their forebears. Now, every generation has had its challenges, be it, the economy, in the toilet, be it war. We're certainly not the first generation to have had that kind of adversity, but something very different is happening in the way that we're able to handle it. And I think you just need to look at the mental health statistics. Around a third of young Australian men now identify with a serious mental health disorder. About a tenth, 10%, are dealing with substance abuse issues, and suicide has overtaken car accidents and disease as the leading cause of death in our young men. And we are an outlier around the rest of the world. In Australia, young men take their lives about 3 times the rate of young women, well above the world average of about 2 times. So there's something going wrong here. And yes, there is those economic problems. And I think in that clip you just shared, I was alluding to a housing crisis. But I wanted to look a bit deeper at what's happening culturally and socially amongst our community as well.
The oldest of this generation, Gerald, are nearing 30. The youngest, if my math is correct, are about 13 or 14. Of the older group, so say boys and men between 20 and 30, how much of this is that men have been criticised strongly for the last couple of decades about being dreadful people, that they're all involved in domestic violence, they're lazy, they don't want to work, they sit around on computer games and don't play sport? I mean, I don't think that's real, but that's what they've been accused of. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I think undoubtedly a lot of young men are retreating, and be that to video games, pornography. We know that from the data that when they're not getting married, they're not having kids, they're not going on dates, they're not having sex. This is increasingly the sexless generation compared to their forebears. And I really think a big part of that is from the time they walk into that school gate, they are bombarded by all the things that you're talking about, that they're toxic, that they are white supremacists, that they're upholding the patriarchy, that if they're straight, they're cisgendered, that they are committing microaggressions, that all of these really quite radical activist language and teaching, that has entered our curriculum. It's on our screens. It's in ABC and Screen Australia with their DEI quotas. It's in Hollywood, where we're seeing movie after movie, franchise after franchise, the white leads being swapped out for ethnically diverse leads. And that's not to say that there isn't a place for diversity on our screens, but what has happened is young boys, and particularly young white boys, have been told that they are the baddies, they are evil, they are everything that's gone wrong with the world, that their history is oppressive. And I think a lot of young men are feeling, well, what place do I have? Where do I find an identity? What is my story? How can I be aspirational in this country when increasingly from every microphone I'm being told that I'm the problem?
Yeah, I reckon at 30 I was, just peaking. I reckon I was at the happiest time of my life. I mean, it's so sad to think of this. I mean, how are we going to rescue these boys and men?
Well, I think there's a lot can be done. I mean, housing affordability is a big one. And I mean, under 35s had the lowest home ownership on record, so it's just under a third. In the 80s, it was around 60%. So there's been that collapse, and that, of course, has delays other life milestones, and so getting the housing crisis under wraps, I think, would be some immediate relief. But I think we need to really start to look at the curriculum. We need to look at what we're telling our boys. It's not good enough to give them an education where they are told that they are the villain in Australia's story. We need to re-nobilise the curriculum in the way that we're teaching them. Tell them about the incredible heroes in their past, the settlers, the convicts even, that carved out of this country with bullet team and axe blade, one of the most prosperous civilisations and countries that has ever existed in human history, that we have so much to be proud of, that everyone is flocking around the world to try and get here because of what their forebears built, that they aren't guilty by association. They aren't guilty by their birth, but they too can have an incredible part to play in our Australian story. And we need to believe in them, tell them that they're needed, that they're wanted, and that they're loved. And I think that kind of that kind of focus in our education, that kind of language from government, that kind of story from our media institutions, I think will go a long way to giving boys a place and really giving them encouragement.
Won't happen, but maybe we ought to put Tony Abbott's excellent book that he's released in the curriculum. What do you think, Gerald?
Yeah, I think that'd be wonderful. I think the way, to our curriculum, everything about our history, about our ancestors is all for deconstruction and pulling apart. What's the feminist interpretation? What's the black interpretation of what we've done? But then we tell our kids, the climate science and all these other radical hysterias, that these are gospel truth and they can't be questioned. And there's really something pernicious going on there. And I think giving boys Tony Abbott's Australia history, not just our boys, our girls as well, I think really looking at the curriculum is such an important step.
Good work. Good to catch up with you again, Gerald. Thanks a lot. Now